Hello and welcome to my latest video. This video features former middleweight contender, Irish fighter Mike Donovan, who as you can see had a large career, scoring lots of wins as well. So let us go through Mike Donovan's career, beginning with his major opponents. So Mike Donovan, fought Rube Ferns on 2 occasions, suffering a loss and a draw. He also 3 times fought Bobby Dobbs, fighting 3 draws, and he also fought and drew 2 mysterious Billy Smith, the former welterweight champion. Mike Donovan also 3 times fought the Baltimore Demon, young Peter Jackson. Shout out to Clash Royale Pro 698. Donovan scored 1 win with 2 losses and no draws against the 2-handed puncher Jackson, and he fought Barbados Joe Walcott on 8 occasions, scoring 1 win with 3 losses and 4 draws. Next up is former welterweight danger man Harry Lewis. Mike Donovan loses to Lewis. He does beat former coloured middleweight champion Joe Butler before then fighting the great defensive fighter Jack Blackburn on 4 occasions, suffering 3 losses and 1 draw. Mike Donovan also fights and loses a singular fight to top contender Willie Lewis before also fighting 4 draws from 4 fights against Charlie Johnson. Next up is Al Neal. Mike Donovan fought him 3 times, suffering 2 losses and 1 draw. He also fought to a draw against Larry Temple, the middleweight contender. Not a great fighter, but a very game fighter, I'll say. He also 4 times fought Cy Flynn, suffering a loss and 3 draws. Mike Donovan did beat former contender Patsy Sweeney in a singular fight before fighting to a draw against former middleweight contender Joe Thomas. So going on, to his second slide, Mike Donovan fought Terry Martin, losing a singular fight. He twice beat from 2 fights Charlie Hitt, before also fighting to a draw against Frank Mantell. The final fight on here is the excellent middleweight contender at 1910s, Jack McCarran, who Mike Donovan lost to. So as you can see, this is a bit of a different set of results here, because there's 43 fights highlighted there, and almost half of them Mike Donovan drew. A number of fights were prearranged draws, etc. Some of those were legitimate draws. But Mike Donovan scores 6 wins with 16 losses and 21 draws from those fights. So going on to his KOs and rounds boxed, Mike Donovan scored 45 knockouts, 12 in 3 rounds or less. He also scored 2 first round wins. Now Donovan scored 0 KOs against champions, Hall of Famers and pound for pounders, and Donovan also scored 0 KOs against rated fighters. Now in terms of rounds boxed, he fought a total of 1,518 career rounds. He also fought 0 title fight rounds, and Donovan fought totals of 242 rounds against champions, 134 rounds against Hall of Famers, and 226 rounds against pound for pound fighters. Donovan fought no rounds against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters, or ring champions. So going on to his slide against champions, Donovan had 19 fights against champions, including 3 wins, 7 losses and 9 draws. The 3 individual champions Mike Donovan defeated were young Peter Jackson, Barbados Joe Walcott and Joe Butler. He did not score a knockout or stoppage over any of those champions, so he's beaten 3 champions and knocked out 0. So on to the Hall of Fame slide, Donovan had 14 fights against Hall of Famers, including 1 win, 7 loss and 6 draw. The one Hall of Famer he defeated was Barbados Joe Walcott, and as we know from the champion slide, Donovan scored 0 KOs against him, so he's beaten 1 Hall of Famer and knocked out 0. And going on to the final category for opponents, highlighted on this video, I'll say, Donovan had 20 fights against pound for pound fighters, scoring 1 win with 9 losses and 10 draws. The 1 pound for pound he defeated was Barbados Joe Walcott, and of course, as we know, he did not stop him, so he's beaten 1 pound for pound fighter and scored KOs over 0. So going on, to rated opponents, Mike Donovan, another pre-rating era fighter. I am looking forward now to getting onto the rating era, so I no longer have to keep babbling about the pre-rating era and no ratings, even though when I go onto more rated era there'll still be a crossover, some fighters not having full ratings, but the period of fighters having 0 fights will be over. So Donovan had no fights against top 10 fighters, top 3 fighters or ring champions, and he defeated 0 individual rated fighters and scored knockouts over 0 rated fighters. And going on, to our final slides. Title fight slide, Mike Donovan, despite having a large large career, well over 100 fights, scoring 82 wins, had no world title fights. Okay, so his title record is 0-0-0. He made no title defenses and scored no title fight KOs. He also thus scored no wins against rated opponents in title fights and no wins against champions, Hall of Famers and pound for pounders. One thing I'll say about Mike Donovan, okay, like many fighters though from this period, and you look at the records and see who they fought, and you know, one of the main things I see happen is, and it happens quite a lot, is not only with Mike Donovan, but many other fighters as well. They'll look at the record and say, oh, they lost to most at major fighters, etc., etc. But you see, a record does not include all the very, very difficult fights he gave people. You know, if a fighter can give even a Hall of Fame level fighter a very difficult fight, lose it, and on the record it says a loss. Okay, but Mike Donovan was a very, very capable fighter and gave many fighters very difficult fights, but ended up on the losing end or drawn results. You know, it's just one of those things. When you look at a record, it's very cold, it's very hard. When you actually dig into who Mike Donovan was, he was an excellent boxer and a very, very capable fighter indeed. Just, you know, like I've said with many fighters, just didn't cross that final finish line. You know, he didn't score the home run. You know, he got to like third base in some, second base in others, first base in others. But, you know, he gave many fighters very difficult nights indeed. So going on, okay, to our final slide, titles won. Okay, Mike Donovan, of course, captured no titles through title fight win. He also was awarded no belts, so he captured no world titles, no lineal titles, and no undisputed titles. Now, some people, someone left a comment saying, why do you cover fighters who aren't very good? Well, first of all, okay, Mike Donovan was a very good fighter. Okay, he was just not better than many of the Hall of Famers and all-time greats in his era. And, you know, really when you think about it, saying, well, this guy isn't good because he isn't better or as good as the Hall of Famers in his time. Well, many fighters in his time were not as good as the Hall of Famers, hence why, I'll say, 9 times out of 10, you know, that's why the Hall of Famers, because they were that good. You know, less so now when they have to include so many, so weaker fighters are getting in more and more, especially in modern era, because now they operate on so many have to go in. But, you know, ultimately, just because he's not better than the Hall of Famers, just because many other fighters are not better than the Hall of Famers, he's not really a detriment to many fighters. Because if he were better than Hall of Famers, he'd be an all-time great, wouldn't he? So, yeah, there's Mike Donovan, okay? As people can see, I'm not only covering the major fighters, I'm covering lots of the contenders of the time. I think it's important when I do it this time. I did include a number of contenders on my last channel on the fighter playlist, but this time I'm going deeper. Okay, so if you look at, you know, in 2 or 3 years' time, if you look at Sam Langford's career, a huge amount of his opponents will have career videos like this on my playlist. So people will not only be able to look at Langford's career and research or do whatever they're doing, okay, they'll be able to come here and find career videos on most of his major opponents. Not only the Hall of Famers champions, but also many of the contenders that Langford fought as well. And, you know, that gives people an ability to learn more about the opponents, to maybe, in some cases, make a more informed decision on how good Langford's opponents were. In some cases, sadly, a non-informed good decision on how good they were, you know, but it is what it is. The information will be here for anybody who needs it to research for whatever purpose, either good or bad. So, there's Mike Donovan, okay, he'll join my middleweight playlist. Before I go, again, a big shout out to Clash Royale Pro 698. I don't know what I'm doing tonight, if I'm loading my next Hall of Famer or if I do Bob Fitzsimmons' opponent score video. I'll decide that later. But yeah, another video will be coming this evening. I'm Boxing Librarian. I'm out for now.